Hi, and welcome back to Politidoxy. I'm your host, Aaron Friedman. Today we have Katie Truther, who is the host of the Louisiana Sister Squad podcast. And I would like for you to introduce yourself on your own terms, and we will continue from there.
Hey, Aaron, thanks so much for having me. Yes, I'm Katie and the host of Louisiana Sister Squad podcast. We talk about all kinds of alternative information, specifically health. We bring on a special guest speaker every time we do an episode and talk about the topic that our guest is proficient in. So we're not coming from an expertise standpoint. What we're doing is finding super interesting people about topics that just seem to be hidden or missed, or we stay really uninformed as a population. And so we just bring them on and ask them some baseline questions and then dig into that topic, whether it be they have extensive research, like we just wrapped up vitamin C, the history of intravenous vitamin C, which was so interesting. So topics of that nature.
So it's basically more or less health and lifestyle, all of that kinds of things. And this is why I brought you on, because I wanted to talk about. I don't have all the connections to all the big experts, but once this podcast gets bigger, we'll probably have some. But for now, we are reaching out just to normal people who have done some research, know something or other. Nothing special, but also informed. So this is why I wanted to bring you on to talk about the poisoning of our waters, the poisoning of our foods, the immense amount of pesticides, all the other things that in Europe largely is outlawed. So let's get into this. So let's get into I want to get into, instead of the meat of the situation, I would like to get into the wheat of the situation, because when it comes to wheat, it comes to baking bread and all the other stuff, all the good stuff. The Europeans, they know how to make good bread. And the Europeans, they do not have the I think the glyphosate, that's what it's called. Glyphosate, all the other pesticides and herbicides, all the other things, they do not use that. Although they do use some kinds of stuff, but not the harsh ones like we use here in the United States. And therefore, in Europe, I've seen this multiple times. In Europe, they do not have bloating of the system, of the bodily system. They do not have bloating. They eat their bread, no problems whatsoever. Meanwhile, here in the United States, we have a lot of problems when it comes to bread. So I would like I don't know how much you've done into this, so I would like for you to expand upon this, and we continue this conversation on what could be done about this, what it's caused, what causes these kinds of things, the chemicals, and what can be done to help out, make sure that people are informed on what they, because you could buy nowadays, you can buy from European, Italian, you can buy Italian wheat. So we'll talk about solutions, and first let's discuss the problem.
Okay, sure. So when it comes to this perspective, I'll say that I have been in the food industry for 20 years. So since I was five, right? So for 20 years, I've been in the food industry. So I've been around reading ingredient labels, just seeing the change in food over time. Me personally, I grew up where my grandmother was, we had a family farm. So always having fresh produce. My father was a fisherman. Him and my grandpa would also go hunting. And so I had a very country, old school lifestyle. I'm also the youngest of four kids. So my grandparents, if they were alive today, would be almost 100 years old. So I'm definitely was raised by a much older generation. So the combination of the two is what's navigated me through to see what choices I should be making and what makes me feel good and what doesn't make me feel good. Something that's really popular right now that people can probably relate to is endocrine disruptors. We've been hearing a lot about that, whether it's the fragrance that you're putting on your body, the fragrance in your home. Well, when you eat food that is grown by big ag, that uses Monsanto, their soil is depleted, and not just food grown, but food basically manufactured. I mean, we don't even have the same amount of nutrition in the food today as we did even 30 years ago. So going starting there. So they're putting so many chemicals into everything. It's essentially causing a disruption within our body because these are really foreign ingredients. They're not natural. They take things that would naturally occur in nature, and because you can't patent nature, they're making synthetics of those things. So we can boil it down to Monsanto getting rid of weeds. Well, dandelion is good for headaches. What does Monsanto and Bayer make? Headache medication. So, I mean, they're coming at us from all aspects with the different chemicals they're putting on food, the nutrition that I believe that we're intentionally being deprived of. It can really be very difficult to navigate. When you say, okay, buying organic, even something that says natural or organic, we're finding out is greenwash. So, really finding a good, sustainable source of ingredients that you wish to use for cooking and just living a healthier lifestyle can almost be overwhelming, to be honest with you. I'll give a quick example of we see so many things on the internet. There's this one video where it's like you're just trying to make breakfast, and one day you're pulling the eggs out and you're watching your phone and it says eggs are bad. Okay, I'm not going to eat that. Okay, don't eat bananas because of XYZ. And so it's like you boil it down and you're like, I'll just have water. Would you know, the other day I'm scrolling through, I want to say maybe Instagram, and there's a guy on there dressed like he is proficient in woo woo. And he says, do you know that we're not supposed to drink as much water as we do? We're supposed to have hardly any water, which I understand maybe way back in the day. I'm talking many, many years ago. We didn't drink as much like bottled water, or it wasn't as easy as us to have 3 meals a day or drink water, whatever it is. So I get that there's some relevancy to that. But he said if we were meant to drink water, we'd come equipped with a cup, and cupping your hands is would not be sufficient. So I just blocked him. I was like, I don't need another woo-woo coming across my timeline telling me not to drink water. I just want to be smart and do the best I can, having the least amount of toxins in what I'm choosing to eat. And I think that's really all we can expect from anyone. No one's going to be 100% free and clear and clean. So long as we have this, there's always going to be some disruption. But if we focus on keeping a low toxin load, we can be better off for it. Our bodies will work better. And so when we do ingest certain toxins, let's say we go out for pizza or a burger or something like that, it's not just piling it on to where our body is so close to just stop functioning the way it's supposed to. It's really minimal if we've done our best to navigate every day. I know that was kind of like a roundabout, because you just asked specifically about like wheat and grain and Monsanto and things. But I just wanted to start off saying, listen, this is not going to be an episode where I say absolutely everything you love to eat is off of the table. I also don't want to be into fear propaganda. I do believe a lot of what we're witnessing, like I said, is an agenda to really make us sick from all aspects. But I also don't want to be a person of doom and gloom. So let's, if you want to expand on that a little bit further, and then we could talk about some solutions, I'd love that.
Yes. So this is why I kind of like the comedy that comes from Andrew Tate, because he made obviously hyperbole. He made a video about gluten, and he said that since when are people supposed to be afraid of gluten? You have people who are so scared of gluten. He's like, invite all your friends, bring them over, and give them some food. And the one guy who says that they don't eat gluten, smack him across the face. So of course, Andrew Tate's going to be Andrew Tate. He's going to say, but I still found it kind of funny, and it's also brought me to a different point, that since when can't we consume gluten? I mean, 100 years ago, did we really not eat any gluten? I mean, what is this new idea that no, I don't eat gluten? What are you even talking about? 100 years ago, 200 years ago, everybody ate gluten. Why suddenly out of nowhere we have this sensitivity to gluten? Well, it's a combination of of gluten in itself. It may not be the healthiest thing, and I'm not the expert on this, but it's not terrible for you. But a combination of gluten and the pesticides, that is what creates the bloating. So if you remove one or the other, then you don't have any bloating. So some people, they just remove the gluten. I say just remove the pesticides, remove the herbicides, and use what the Europeans use. As bloated as the European Union is, they are a bloated bureaucracy that takes forever to do anything, and it just doesn't work. And that's why you had Brexit, and you had all kinds of other movements that they just want to separate from the EU. The one thing the EU got right is food. That is the one thing they got right. They keep their citizens healthy. I mean, I've seen so many videos of the of people taking American food, I'm talking about just snacks, the unhealthy snacks, and comparing it to British, the same kind of unhealthy snack, but the British or French or Italian version of that. And the British had much more unhealthy ingredients. Sorry, the American had much more unhealthy ingredients. Meanwhile, the British had less ingredients. So America is putting in for the same kind of food, which is obviously unhealthy. The snacks are unhealthy, but the British is healthier than the American. That is amazing. It is, and then you have the let's get into this one. The colorings in Britain, yeah, or in just in Europe in general, you have the colorings they use natural colorings. Meanwhile, here in the United States, they use synthetic colorings. Blue 46, red 22. I don't remember the numbers, but that's like literally the names of those things. So, and that is very detrimental to the body. And let's expand on this. What do you think is the what do you think would be the best course of action on lobbying our government to take out all these kinds of chemicals, take out the just the pesticides and the herbicides? That is one thing, but also take out the chemicals, the things that just look what the British are doing, look what the French are doing, look what the Italians are doing, look what they are doing. Copy that, and I think we'll have a much better population. What do you think would be the best course of action to start, holding these huge corporations accountable?
So I like to encourage people. Oh, I heard a little echo. Sorry. So I like to encourage people and tell them that we, the people, have the same amount of power as any lobby. I do think that if people really banded together that were passionate about this topic, we would see change from the government level down. Us as a population, though, especially people who might be more like myself, are typically, very independent, don't want to meddle in other people's business and stuff like that. So we have a lot of like individuality amongst people that would be similar to me. On a personal level, I would say being able to manage your own garden, whether you can just do something for herbs, you can do a few vegetables, some kind of fruit tree, things that you can manage, you should manage. I think that there is so much weight put on government's role into this when it's really boils down for me to personal responsibility about what I buy. Now, that said, we're up against a machine. Everything from the food pyramid. The food pyramid started out with good intentions, okay? And so this was like just before 1980, a woman who was, I believe she was a doctor, possibly studied nutrition. This was like at the turn of events. Well, go back even further, you had coming out of World War II, I believe, you had a lot of people that were nutrient deficient. They weren't eating enough. So then we see the development of grocery stores. We see government assistance to have people eat enough calories and so on and so forth. So that's like the first big wave of food indoctrination, in my opinion. Moving forward to that, you have the 80s, the development of the food pyramid, which started out with very good intentions. She brings it to the government gets a hold of it, and then basically just turns it on its head. Right from the beginning, now this is renewed every 5 years, but right from the beginning, they're recommending in between 6 and 11 servings of grain. A serving of grain would be a slice of bread. Who do you know that can eat 11 slices of bread in a day on top of everything else you're supposed to be eating in the food pyramid? It set us up for failure. This food pyramid is meant to be almost an idol when it comes to food standards in school. School, that's another issue of pushing big propaganda. You have the lobbyist with the milk industry. So many people, maybe you don't remember this when you were in school, but I know specifically in the last 10 years, when you go through the school lunch line, you have to take a carton of milk, even if you don't drink milk. And it's because the lobbyist went to the government and said milk needs to be in every school for X amount of children. There's a carton of milk for every child. So rather than to say, okay, well, we have 20% that's lactose intolerant, 20% that brings their lunch, 20% that doesn't want to drink milk, they want to choose a water or a juice, so we can reduce the amount of milk that we're bringing into the school by this much money, right? Let me complete this thought. So bring in less to the school, okay? They don't do that. If you go through that lunch line, a carton of milk will be put on your plate, whether you're going to throw it away or not. School teaches you about the food pyramid, and that's, man, these lobbyists, the people that are on the board to develop the food pyramid all have ties to major production, whether it's big beef, big dairy, big grain, whatever it is. Last thing I'll say for that is that between the amount that people have been consuming TV teaches us how to eat, not our parents, not the school, it's the propaganda. All those same big companies that's going into the food pyramid, you also have people like Coke, Kellogg, and Frito-Lay's putting vending machines. They're putting money into the school. They're also sponsoring school events. So when your child is doing a hula hoop contest for school, they're being bombarded by Coke propaganda. And this is a huge problem when you look at people who are desperately lacking the information, such as in Brazil, in Mexico, and so on and so forth. The diabetes rate right now, 30 years ago, was 1 in 10,000 people had diabetes. Today, 1 in 11 people have diabetes in only 30 years. So I hate that I have to go on the long loop of things, but there's just so much history that's compacted into where we are today. And you don't start to pull the threads of influence and how did we get here, it can be very difficult for someone to say, whoa, I need to take personal responsibility, because for the past 35 years, absolutely handing it over to the government for them to regulate the quality of food, which they say that America has the safest food of all the countries. We have the safest food supply, which is simply not true. You cannot get pathogen-free chicken at the grocery store. You're under the assumed presumption that all chicken has salmonella. Isn't that wild? When salmonella is a bacteria that can be controlled. But the more that they raise food, and you think of the chicken coop, there's hardly any sunlight. It's ramp, ramp, ramp. As soon as the eggs come out, they're kind of monitored. They grow the chickens, and 14 days later, we have a chicken on the shelf that's for sale. You'll see things that says like FDA approved, which means that there is an FDA regulator present at the factory, most likely sleeping on the job, not actually testing chicken for salmonella. Salmonella is something that could be controlled, but the more that we mass produce, the more chemicals we allow to be introduced into our food system to prevent things like salmonella, because they don't do it right from the egg. Sorry.
No, no, that was great. I mean, the for those I'm not I'm not that well versed. So what is salmonella?
Salmonella is a bacteria. I can pull up the official definition if you'd like, but right now it's just presumed that when you get chicken at home, it's your responsibility to wash and cook the chicken properly to make sure that you don't get salmonella poisoning. When salmonella can be controlled, it's a pathogen that can be controlled from the time of the egg to the end product of the chicken.
Okay.
So in Europe, you can buy pathogen free chicken, which means it's free of salmonella. Here, you'll never see that. Everyone in America thinks that raw chicken has salmonella on it just because it's raw chicken. They're missing the connection. When we don't grow our food, when we don't kill our food, we have no idea what it takes to get this chicken in a package. We're so disconnected from reality of what it takes to get the food. We're just a consumer society, and we operate off of half truths and inaccurate information.
But the most important part that we need to be talking about is what you said, that it used to be 1 in 10,000, now it's 1 in 11 people who have diabetes. And the question is, what happened? Why are we suddenly seeing this huge spike in diabetes? Well, let me introduce to you the idea where this comes from, the root of the problem. Let's go back to the 1950s. President Eisenhower had a heart attack, and after he survived, thankfully he survived, and he ordered that somebody should start looking into this. What is the cause of the heart attack? And that's when they started looking into this, and the scientists came up with fat. That is the dangerous thing. Fat causes the heart attacks. Problem is that is a complete lie, and it was funded by the big sugar industries, because in the reality, fat has been consumed by humans all the time from the beginning. Sugar has not been consumed since the beginning, although natural sugars from fruits and vegetables, that, yes, that has been consumed from the beginning, but not sugar cane, not the new sugar, and especially not corn syrup sugar, high fructose corn syrup, which is the worst of the worst. So the sugar industry started lobbying, and they started funding all the kinds of studies showing that it was, and saying that it's fat. You have to watch out yourself from fat. So they took out the fat from all kinds of foods and instead replaced it with sugar. And that, I would say, is the leading cause of the diabetes problem, because it's all sugar. If you are somebody who's struggling with weight, I would say this. What you can do is you can always take out all the sugar, just first of all, the synthetic sugar, such as the high fructose corn syrup. That is something that,
Yeah, that and refined sugar.
and then,
Refined sugar, synthetic sugar, fake
yes,
sugar. Yeah.
the natural. Then you could go also with natural sugar. And if you want something, you have a sweet tooth, you still want something. What you can do is, have an apple. That's okay. That's not the problem. Have an apple. Have an orange. Have those sugars. It should not damage you. It's okay. Bread also converts itself to sugar. When the body consumes bread, white bread, that is to be exact, the body converts it to sugar, and there's basically you have no benefit from, if you don't eat sugar, you eat bread, you have no benefit, because the sugar you still are consuming sugar, and it's just not worth it. So you switch it up, you stop eating sugar and all things that is converted to sugar, and you eat high protein. High protein that used to be, the for those who could afford it, that used to be the diet. High protein. The body knows what to do with protein. Here's the thing about what most doctors would say, and it's a misconception. It's that the body needs sugar, right? That is what everybody tells you. The problem is that you don't have to eat sugar in order to get sugar. if you eat protein and your body needs sugar, your body will convert the protein to sugar. So you will not. So you don't have to eat sugar just so to fill that quota. The quota will happen by itself. Your body can regulate itself. But if you eat excess sugar, what your body is doing is it's starting to store it. And especially when it comes to the high fructose corn syrup, most people don't know this. High fructose corn syrup, when it enters the body, it's specifically fructose. Your body or the brain picks it up as being fat. It picks it up as this is fat. So what does the body do with fat? Well, it stores it for energy. Sugar about already is energy. So it takes the sugar, it puts it into your body, it stores it, and that's where you get a lot of people who can't get rid of the excess fat because they're constantly consuming more and more sugar. That is the main problem.
Right. And with that, they're becoming insulin resistant. I mean, there's just a multitude. Like I said, I don't want to be the doom and gloom person, so I am sorry. And I am just like every other person in America who's trying to be healthy, trying to navigate very rough, toxic waters to get through to the other side. Because like I said, it's every single day you're eating something and it's fine, and then all of a sudden you look over, there's bioengineered ingredients on it. What am I supposed to be avoiding? What we try to do as a family is avoid anything that has seed oils in it and anything with numbers and colors in it. If we avoid those two things, the predominant everything else that we're finding as far as like snack food, we're so limited on what like snack junk food we can actually eat at that point, because we're avoiding the two most common toxic ingredients. So we're looking at other things like nuts, fruit, meat, so on, and cheeses and things like that, because all of those things are okay for you if you're eating them like specifically, and not also bombarding them with junk. Like we're gonna have strawberries. We're not having strawberries and whipped cream. Like I would never buy like a Cool Whip or whatever it is. You have to just try your best to eliminate those things. There's no really one fix. You kind of mentioned people that might be overweight or struggling with obesity. My greatest tip for you is to get someone who is proficient in nutrition, because you could be deficient in certain minerals because we have mineral depleted soil. You could have other health conditions that's contributing to it. You could be eating things that you think are healthy that are not, maybe have ingredients that you don't understand. If something contains sugar, it might not say sugar. They are calling these lab grown ingredients, synthetic ingredients, all kinds of names. And I really feel terrible for the person that's just starting out, because you lived a life of, people say, oh my gosh, people always say, oh, I don't eat fast food too often, maybe 2 or 3 times a week. We are so confused on what moderation is that I pray for the American people all of the time. I pray over my own food, the food my family consumes, because with greenwashing too, man, sometimes we just don't know. We just don't
Right.
know. Even we're talking about pathogens, even things like, oh, I'm gonna have a salad. With the rate that E. coli is happening within our food system, when you get lettuce that's grown here in the United States and spinach that's grown in the United States, you have a higher risk of E. coli. It used to just be on, I believe, meat products, because it's within like the beef industry. Is E. coli is where that commonly is, and it was never on lettuce and spinach. But over the past couple of years, I'm sure you can even think of a time where you saw that spinach or lettuce was recalled because it had E. coli on it. Well, what is that? When we say watch the water, if there's a beef farm and a lettuce farm that are anywhere nearby where water is running from the cow's poop, to the lettuce, or that water is getting into a stream and recycled for any kind of big ag farming, that water is sprayed onto your lettuce. And that's where E. coli is born within the lettuce and spinach that we consume here in the United States. You could avoid things like that by investing in local agriculture, people that want to do regenerative farming, people that don't have beef and vegetables on the same farm. By taking away that power, we might not be able to fix the world. We might not be able to fix the entire American food system. But if you control what you can control, so let's say you buy beef locally and grow your own lettuce. Lettuce is super duper easy to grow. You've eliminated the risk of even bringing that into your home, because people don't realize, like, we hear it so common. If you've never been affected by a foodborne illness, you probably take it really lightly. But food safety, like I said, I've been in the restaurant industry for such a long time. It's something that I'm like very passionate about, because I think food safety is taken for granted, whether it's our at-home practices or restaurant practices or farming and packaging practices. And for having been in this industry for so long, the best thing that I can tell you is to try to take back control of the things that you can actually control.
Yes, that is very important. So that's why I also have other advice that people could go to local farmers market. Always support your local farmers market. And if you live in Pennsylvania, Ohio, or Florida, I know in Florida, you'll be surprised, but you have a lot of Amish people. I know Florida. Who would have thought Florida has an Amish community? They have Mennonite communities. They have all kinds of communities. So go down there, go to them. I trust them more than anybody. There's this one guy that has been rated by the Pennsylvania authorities, because an Amish guy, Amos Miller, as I remember, he was rated by the Pennsylvania authorities because he did not look for a seal of approval from the Pennsylvania authorities to sell his milk products. And I'm like, why? Why? I trust him more than you, the Pennsylvania authority, to do anything about this. I'm like, why does he? I mean, when it comes to the big corporations, I'm like, yes, the state of Pennsylvania should regulate the big corporations. But when it comes to an independent farmer, an Amish farmer, are you kidding me? Are you out of your mind? I trust that he's doing his job. He's an Amish farmer. I trust that he's not going to poison me. I promise you that this guy's not going to poison me. But Pennsylvania, in my opinion, oversteps its boundary when it goes after Amish farmers. So go to those people. Go to the Amish people. They grow a lot of things. Take your business there. Don't take it to the big corporations. Take your business to the local farmers. Amish, preferably Amish. But if you have anybody else, go to those people, because first of all, it incentivizes them to grow and to do better. And it also takes away your business from big corporations who they do not deserve it. And finally, you get a benefit that you're healthier and you're doing good with the community. That is important. But let me also touch on this about losing weight, because this is a very interesting subject, because a lot of people are struggling to lose weight. And as we discussed, sugar is the main culprit, more of anything else. And I've seen people, they are complaining about the weight, they're doing exercise. I'm like, dude, not the exercise. Exercise is for gaining muscle, and yes, it could help with losing weight. But the most important thing is the food that you eat. That is the thing. The linchpin of everything is the food that you eat. So no sugar. And if you really want to lose weight real quick, I'll tell you something that I did, something that I used, and it worked like amazing. I was surprised it worked so well. I lost 15 pounds in 2 weeks. You heard me right, 15 pounds in 2 weeks. What I did was intermittent fasting. So it's not just intermittent fasting. It's also the intermittent fasting. Plus, when you stop fasting, you eat specific foods such as fish, avocado, nuts, or chicken. Those five foods, they do not trigger your body to tell your body that you've stopped fasting, because your body starts, when you fast, your body releases certain enzymes, certain other kinds of things that help you reduce your weight. If you start eating bread after the intermittent fasting, it's like you didn't fast at all, because the body it just stops and you regain all the weight. If you stop your fast on those kinds of foods, you'll lose fat much quicker. And of course, no sugar. So I stopped fasting on those foods every day for 2 weeks, and I lost 15 pounds. So for those who really want to quickly lose some weight, intermittent fasting, those foods that I just mentioned, I'm telling you, you'll lose weight real quick. And why those foods? Because they're high in protein. High protein, low sugar. That is the trick. That is always the trick. High protein, low sugar. That is the trick to win. So let me ask you another question about this, about what we can do about the lobbying, about the Monsanto types. Do you think that state governments should bring lawsuits? I'm not talking about the federal government because they're not going to do anything about it. They're just, it just doesn't work. But should we start lobbying state governments to bring lawsuits against these huge corporations such as Monsanto, which I don't know why they're still allowed to operate in the United States. They have done the worst of the worst kinds of things, especially when it comes to the GMOs. But should we start lobbying our state governments, suing them and putting them into their place? Because these huge corporations, they should not have a right to poison not the body, not our bodies, nor should they have the right to poison our environment.
So when it comes to legally, you would have to get a politician who is also passionate about it. And you would have to have a group of people that were nonstop about it, because you can't, in my opinion, you can't just, okay, here's a group of us. We go to the state attorney general, we go to the governor, we go to our council people, our Senate, whatever, all of them, one of them, doesn't matter, and say, stop poisoning our food. Just based on what I know, it is one ingredient at a time. Monsanto has been sued. They've paid out tons of money, and they continue. I personally don't know if we'll see a huge change of that in my lifetime. My plan is to support my local farmers, to grow my food, to educate my children on what's good, what's bad, what's toxic, to do the podcast, to keep bringing that information to people, because I think collectively, if enough people stop buying into that system, even if it's small amounts at a time, if you make a change in your life, you have to know that someone else somewhere in this country is also making a change in their life. And that's two more people that's not buying into this system. And I think that that happens every single day. I don't even have a guess on how many, hundreds, maybe a couple of thousands of people that choose to get educated on what is making them ill. They choose to walk away from big ag. They choose to walk away from big pharma, and they start doing things differently. I can only think that there's other people in the world that have the same experience that I did, whether it's sooner in life or later in life. But the important thing is that we're talking about it. So it's not just me and it's not just Aaron on a podcast talking about it. You take this information, you make some notes, you do additional research. You should always be checking and verifying what people are telling you. I'm not a person that likes to speak from such a place of authority. I'm just in a collection of information over time that gets me to a point where I say something's got to change. I'm not a person that needs to read 500 pages on why Roundup or Monsanto or certain grains or certain sugars are bad for me. I don't even need to read all of that information. I just know over time the bits and pieces that I've gotten. And at the end of the day, asking myself what makes me feel good, what makes me feel healthier, what makes me feel better. Am I lethargic? Am I gaining weight? Am I, just tired? Am I grumpy? Am I having hormonal problems, mood swings? If I'm having any of those things, and I know that there's something in my life that's disrupting my natural being, because we have gotten so conditioned to being irregular. We've normalized being hyper emotional, normalized being fat. We've normalized, different skin conditions that have come from whether it's vaccines or seed oils or chemicals that we lather onto ourselves for the sake of beauty or whatever. We have to just start taking steps back and going, what is really in these things, and making choices. Like today, look at me. I hopefully you guys think that I look nice. I have makeup on. I put makeup on for the podcast, and when I'm done, I'm going to wipe it off. And it'll be 5 more weeks until I put makeup on my face again. It's just not something that I do every single day because I know that it's not healthy for me. But this is what moderation is. Moderation is not once and twice a week. It's maybe once a month or every 6 months. That's truly what moderation is. And when you start to change what you think moderation is, all the things that you think you're doing in moderation will you'll expose truth to yourself through your own actions and stop living in a conditioned delusion. So that
Right.
said, maybe there's legal action. If enough of us got together, if there's certain paperwork, as far as I know, because I'm gonna try to stay more on point. I always trail off. Welcome to the world of my brain. Is that I think that you have to go against each individual ingredient. So just like the salmonella situation, we'd have to address salmonella in finished chicken products and like raw chicken products. Then you have different plants, different factories, different testing. Also, you mentioned the food regulation systems. Those people don't even communicate. The people that are over chicken and eggs and something else, and the people that are over beef and dairy, it's the FDA is over beef, dairy, and drugs. And then I forget what the other one is. It's over chicken, eggs, and like lettuce. And they don't mingle. That's why, like the E. coli that comes from beef gets put on lettuce and nothing really gets done about it, is because you have two agencies that don't talk. They're bad at co-parenting us.
Yeah, I would say this about, and this is something that conservatives may disagree with me, but I don't care. It's that we do need a strong federal FDA. We do need a strong federal FDA. Of course, the FDA is a little bloated right now. Talk about being bloated. So yes, we do have some red tape that we could remove, some other things that we could change around. But I do want a strong federal FDA protecting our American citizens from huge conglomerate multinational corporations that are trying to take advantage of us, which they are already. So that is why I am very much in favor of a strong federal FDA, because I know the conservatives, they don't like big government. I'm not that much against big government. I'm for limited government, but if you have a government that's going to span from Hawaii to Alaska to Florida to New York to California, you're going to have a big government. The question is it going to be limited? Is it going to limit it? Who's going to limit it? And what is the limits that this government is going to put on other governments from taking advantage of us? That is a very important question. And I would say a strong FDA that protects its citizens is a very warranted and well use of government. And of course, it could be everything could be misused. But that is not an argument to say that we should just allow these harsh chemicals to be poured into the United States, killing off our environment and simultaneously us in the process. So again, and this is why I am in favor of a powerful and strong government protecting us from multi-conglomerate multinational corporations. Now let's
Well, that's gonna be hard to reach the way that things are now. So I like a lot of what Vivek Ramaswamy had to say as far as like dismantling a lot of things. Now, I wasn't a fan of dismantling the police, but like sometimes you have to admit that things are broken and build something else, and then at some point the other thing has to go away. We can't have something that's broken still working and then something kind of working. It needs to be all in one, just like I talked about these two regulations being apart. For anybody that doesn't know anything about the FDA, or maybe you know a little, I would recommend reading, I think it's Fear of False Alarm. And this goes over the history of certain pandemics, the role of the FDA, um, role of the FDA, and not just in pandemics. It's a lot of medical jargon. If you're not a medical professional like myself, I would recommend doing the audio book, because sometimes if I'm reading, like just reading a physical book and it's got so much medical jargon, I get lost in the sauce of trying to like define everything, when lo and behold it kind of like comes out in the process of the story anyways. So doing the audiobook, I was able to move through it much more quickly, with leaving with a big clear picture of how the FDA has really worked over time, for things that they declare an emergency when it's only like two or three, and then other things that have been 2 or 3 thousand that they have looked past. It's really concerning, and kind of really exposes how broken that system is. So if you do check out that book, I would like to know what you think of it. You're muted. I can't hear you.
Oh, sorry about that. So yes, sorry, I missed. I forgot. What is the book?
Fear. I think it's Fear of False Alarm.
Fear of False Alarm. I'll check it out. I'll see what that is about, and I'll get back to you about it. So now, what the most important thing, as we said, the most important thing you can do, the intermittent fasting. Get yourself off of the sugar. No fast food. No seed oils. You know what seed oils are, right? Here's the one. Here's one seed oil. You heard about You heard about the rapeseed oil. You know what that one is, right? Most people don't know about the rapeseed oil. That's what it literally is called, rapeseed oil.
Rape seed or grape seed
Rapeseed.
with
The
a R?
the canola oil. Yes, it's
Oh,
rapeseed. It's called rapeseed oil. Yes, canola oil. It's actually a very fitting name for it. So that you get yourself off the industrial lubricant. That's what it actually is. It's a byproduct. It's a byproduct of industrial lubricant, and it's then some of them are petroleum byproducts. I'm like, why the hell are you putting this in your food? Why are you putting industrial lubricant into your food? It doesn't make any sense. If you want to cook something, cook with either avocado oil or with what's the other one? With olive oil. Those are the two major ones. That
I
is,
like coconut oil too. Oh, you know what? I might be.
it has a
You
low
know,
burning point though. Coconut oil has a low burning point. So
well,
it's,
don't burn your food.
yeah, but it's,
Don't overcook it.
play it safe. If you want to play it safe, you could always go with olive oil. So that one has a high burning point and it's healthy. So that I would say, you like to use coconut oil, fine. You just need to make sure you have to be proficient in it. Otherwise, it could turn toxic real quick, real fast, real quick. So that is
And learning how to use a cast iron skillet. You have to learn how to do it. Stop burning your food. Not everything's supposed to get stuck. You got to get that pan nice and hot and throw your food in there, but it's not impossible to do. And even once you know how to do it, you still might fuck up sometimes. But I definitely recommend learning how to use a cast iron skillet. Really quickly, I want to say I'm sorry, that was not the name of the book. It is just False Alarm. And I can send you the link that you can put in the description for the podcast if you'd like.
all right. Yeah, I'll do
I
that.
was I was mixing it with I was also reading the United States of Fear, and then so I put Fear
All
False Alarm. My bad.
right. I'll put it in the description. So, as I was saying, those are one of the most important things. Another thing that you can do is you could always buy off of Amazon Italian wheat. That is something you can do. You could buy the Italian French or Italian. Those are the two best kinds of wheat that you can get. I recommend the Italian, but you can get whatever you want, and get food from Europe. If you can find something from Europe, buy from Europe. Another thing, if you are, let's say you really like Pepsi or you really like Coca-Cola, what are you gonna do? Well, you don't have to like quit cold turkey. Pepsi also has real sugar cane Pepsi soda cans. You can buy it at Walmart. So that is an option. So you could, slowly. First, you're taking the high fructose corn syrup. Now you're taking the real sugar. Okay, it's better. And by the way, it has 1 gram less. I checked. It has 1 gram less of sugar than the high fructose corn syrup. So you're getting less sugar. Same. It's more or less the same taste. So I would say, there's a lot of options. Everybody needs to do their own research, and you will find a whole bunch of things. And the same as with cola. See, I'm ultra orthodox Jewish, therefore, cola has and whenever Passover is coming up. Now Passover is coming up. Whenever Passover happens, we are not allowed to eat leavened bread. We're not allowed to eat bread where you have a special kind of bread. It's called matzah. Anyway, but what you're not allowed to have is corn, some other kinds of foods, which is because it looks very similar to wheat. Sorry, not to wheat, to flour. That therefore you're not allowed to have them because of their similarity. Anyway, so you're not allowed to have corn. So that means you're not allowed to have corn syrup. So Coca-Cola, and what they do is that for this time period they release a special, I would say special edition, for lack of better terms, a special edition cola, which is made with real sugarcane. So keep an eye out for that. For anybody who wants the good stuff, it's the healthier stuff, and take some, put away for the rest of the year. Buy a whole bunch of them, put away for the rest of the year. I know it's not healthy. Of course, it's not healthy, but it's healthier than high fructose corn syrup. If you want to get off the high fructose corn syrup, but you don't want to stop cold turkey, this is how you do it. Take the sugar, the healthier sugar, and then slowly weed yourself off of that. So just for you guys know that they release a special edition that is made with real sugarcane only, so it's kosher for Passover. So that is something I know a lot of people don't know. This is some secret hidden Jewish tricks we're giving out here. We control the world, for those who don't know. Anyway, so that is a whole bunch of things that you could do. You could buy the healthier food options. There's a whole bunch of other things. Do the research. You'll find so many good things. Get yourself off of the lubricant. Please do not use the seed oils and the sugar. All those things, that's what makes you fat. You want to lose weight? That's how you lose weight. You get healthier. And of course, exercise. That's another thing you can do. But the most important thing is, when it comes to losing weight, is the food. The food is what regulates your body. Your body is a system that it has a way of getting rid of excess fat by itself. But the chemicals, including the plastics, it's something we haven't talked about. The plastics. Have you done any research into the phosphates, the phthalates, all the other things that people consume? Have you done any research into that?
Yeah. So, well, yes and no. So I like to tell people this is the average American eats one credit card a week.
That is not. I heard about that, but that is not an accurate statement. That is.
I feel like that's enough to shock people into caring about what they eat. Like I said, I don't need to read 500 pages on things to think that something is true or mostly true. But my gosh, you went back to kind of talking about losing weight and intermittent fasting. Like, all of those things are good. Getting your nutrition in line is good. I just want to go back to, sometimes, even if you're doing those things, weight can be hard to come off because you might have a deficiency, a mineral deficiency. We have normalized living out of balance in every day. Every day. We're not supposed to be crazy people. We're really not. We're not supposed to have all of the problems that are seemingly normal. And I believe it's because we are living out of balance with nature. So the closer you get back to nature and restoring, what you would have been eating, I guess now we're approaching like about 40 years ago, is a better way of life. I don't think that we can go all the way back to caveman times. I'm not trying to make things like super difficult for people, but just kind of like the process of elimination. Start breaking the cycle of programming that you need to eat 3 times a day, that you need to have bread, that you can't lose weight, that it's hard to lose weight, that it's hard to eat healthy. A lot of the issue with weight gain is because it becomes such a mental battle once you've gained the 10 pounds or 20 pounds or 30 pounds, whatever your limit is, to where you get to the over the point of being so uncomfortable that you start accepting how it is, and getting back in balance seems so difficult. People really give up. So, you know, spend time, whether you pray or in meditation, seeking those things, and just try to take things one step at a time. But so long as you're trying and making effort, you're doing better than you were when you were ignoring it and acting oblivious to the problem.
Yes. So we're coming up to the end. I just want to finish the previous point that when you surround yourselves with the plastics, the phosphates, the phthalates, the other kinds of things. These are these particles are in the same shape of the chromosomes. So there are certain pregnant women who have given birth to boys who have micro penises, because because of the plastics they have consumed and surrounded themselves with so much plastic that the enzymes were not and sorry that the hormones that build the structure of the body parts was not able to construct it properly. That's a real thing that happens because of plastics. So for pregnant women, for people who just want to be healthier, try to use less plastics. That is a if you could buy, water in glass, that'll be healthier. Although not all of it. This is a very complicated. And I know with this economy you might not be able to afford it, but still you could still limit how much plastic you surround yourself with. So that is still something you can do. Do not chew plastic, because it gets in your body, it messes you up. Don't use that. Don't chew plastic. Don't do anything like that. That is so that is how far the the plastic phosphates, phthalates, and all kinds of other things mess up your body, because your body is a self regulates, and these things they enter the bloodstream, they enter the body, they enter the certain and they take the shape of certain, like puzzle pieces. They take the shape of certain places where something else, where actual, you know protein is supposed to go, and they just that piece of plastic just enters there, stays there for a week, then leaves. But the damage is already done. So if you want to be healthier, as you said, the more natural, the better. Not always, not everywhere. There's all kinds of caveats. Do your own research, but the more natural, the better. Stay away from the lubricants, the industrial lubricants. Stay away from the plastic. Stay away from the seed oils. Stay away from those. Take the most natural path as possible, and I'm telling you, you guys are gonna do much more better. You'll be able to think clearer. You'll have less bloating. You'll be healthier, more fit, and it's only a spiral of bettering yourself from that point on. So I think this has been a great conversation. I'm glad that you were able to share your time with us. Tell the viewers where they can find you. Tell us all about where they can find you on your podcast, your if you have a website or anything like that, your social media. Tell us everything.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Erin, so much for having me on. This conversation has been awesome. Just know that nothing I said is medical advice. I'm just trying to share my own life experience with my audience, with your audience too. If you guys enjoyed what you heard, you can typically find me on X, formerly known as Twitter. I host spaces. I'm often in and out of spaces. We're at Louisiana Squad on X. We should have a pinned tweet where you can find the links for everything. Our podcast is available on Spotify at Louisiana Sister Squad. And we're also partnered with Unified One America, which is a great alternative platform for just in case Spotify goes down. Our podcast is still going to be hosted someplace else. We're currently podcasting, doing about one a month. We were doing every week, which was so much fun. But I just decided I would spend a little bit more time with guests. I'm trying to get increasingly better guests and bring on interesting people. And it's not about big names or someone who's a super expert or anything like that. Like, I'm really trying to get down to the people who are real and have been consistent, because what I'm seeing more of is people's kind of like rise to so many thousands of followers. And it seems like there's always some kind of like undertow, like some kind of grift that's associated with it. And so what I've learned in this 3 years of podcasting is to be patient. It's always nice when a big guest wants to come on, or somebody with a super interesting story. But take it from me, for anybody that might be podcasting out there or looking to podcast, is take your time, do your research into that person, because people are not always who they appear to be. So hopefully between that and my information to just say, hey, listen, if you're doing your best, that's really all we can ask for. But I really do believe in prayer and meditation, and self-evaluation, self-reflection, because I have had my feelings hurt and I've dug myself into a tunnel a time or two because of having to hear the things that I might have been doing incorrectly from other people. Like I said, I'm a really independent person. And so sometimes that ego, that pride gets in the way. But just know that most of the time people are trying to operate out of best intentions to help you. But the best way you can kind of avoid situations like that is making sure that you're checking in with yourself. Don't forget to get outside every single day. Rain, snow, shine, sleet, hail, tornado, the plague, just go outside.
Yeah, always touch some grass. Now, for those who want to reach out to me, you can reach out to me at Aaron Politidoxy on Twitter, or politidoxy@gmail.com on email, or you could reach out to me on Instagram at Aaron Friedman. Please share this episode. The most important thing you could do, as I always say, share this episode, like, subscribe, leave 5 stars everywhere. We're on Spotify, and more or less any podcasting website, and on YouTube and Rumble. So you guys leave a like, and again, share, and remember, my fellow radicals, stay political.